Hello there, it's Dan at Chem Boot Camps. I hope you're well. Welcome to our first KBC Larder. What we're going to be talking about the importance of how we stock our cupboards with food. I think it's really important to emphasise the quality that we kind of invest in with our food, because after all, we become that food. That's a really important thing to remember. So when you're going out to buy your food, make sure you can get the best quality that you can buy, or the best that you can afford. Essentially, I would always tend to go for organic first, so we're getting carbohydrates and animals from a kind of a good soil. If we can't get organic, I would then tend to opt for free range. If you know where the animal and what the animal's fed on, I would always go grass fed. But essentially, I thought we'll kick off by talking about the importance of fats and oils. Not only the different types of fats and oils that are good and bad, but also what are the best fats and oils that we can cook with. Because what we'll find is, as fats and oils are used in a cooking process, we can damage the fats and oils, which leave us open to things like inflammation, high cholesterol, or other diseases, essentially degeneration. Lots of research has gone into degeneration of human beings, and the main thing that comes up now and time again is processed foods. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be gone through a mechanical process to get to us, which is true, but it's also how we handle those foods once we get them, how we cook them. Do we overheat them? How we kind of put it on our plate. So, I'm going to talk about fats and oils because it's kind of highly contested and talked about in the press. My views are to eat traditionally. Essentially, my philosophy at Chem Boot Camps and one-to-one in group setting is really teaching people to resort back to how we used to live. It's evident that what we're doing in the modern day is not good, because we have more prevalence of heart disease, cancers, you name it. We kind of, we've got it. So if you look back, even sort of 50 years ago, you can see that the incidence of diseases and illnesses is much lower. So there's a kind of, a clue that they may have been onto something. So maybe what your grandparents or even your parents were teaching you, or what you grew up on, especially if you're over sort of 30, 40, certainly probably the foods that you want to kind of start reintroducing into your stock, into your larder. So fats and oils are really deemed a bad thing in the press, but I want to try and educate you that they're a good thing. It's really important that you get the right fats and oils on board and you cook in the right way, because essentially that's where our hormones come from. Our sex hormones, our androgen hormones, our testosterone, estrogen, our stress hormones, cortisol and DHA, and all these other hormones derive from cholesterol. So actually cholesterol is a very, very important substance in our body that we produce mainly from the liver. So things like inflammation in the body is an example where, so issues of inflammation normally manifest in raising of cholesterol in the body. So it's important, if you have issues or symptoms of inflammation, whether it's pain, whether it's heightened cholesterol, that you look at the types of food you're eating, because eating the right fats and oils can help to reduce that and almost eliminate any issues there. So we're going to talk a little bit about the different types of fats that I use and I would recommend, and why we tend to do it, and also what are the best fats to cook with, so that you're not jeopardizing your health. And essentially, when you're healthy, you're going to be losing weight. When you're unhealthy, it's going to be harder to lose weight. So my view is try and kind of get the fundamentals in place, and then we should be good to go in terms of losing weight, feeling better, sleeping better, handling stress, and all those other things that we're exposed to a lot of. So I'm going to kick off with talking about saturated fat, because saturated fat is highly, or has been until recently really, was the bad demon but I'm here to tell you that I want you to eat good quality saturated fats. The reason why good saturated fats are good is because they're very, very stable in different environments. So I would start off with things like good old fashioned dripping, beef dripping or pork dripping, or goose fat. You think, oh, I can eat that. Butter. These are the 3 saturated fats, as well as coconut oil or butter. I actually have coconut oil and I have coconut butter. They're kind of derived from the same thing, but one's more coconutty than the other one. So I would say saturated fat are brilliant when you're looking to heat something. Now what I wouldn't do when I'm heating food is use extra virgin olive oil. It's probably about the worst thing you can do. Extra virgin olive oil comes from a vegetable. Essentially, omega-6s, they're pretty much unstable. They go off if you expose them to too much light, if they oxidize, if you don't put the lid on properly, and if you heat, which a lot of people do. I'm sure 90% out of you will fry, just like Jamie Oliver, with too much olive oil and fry at high temperatures, and that's bad news, because what happens is that the structure of the oil gets broken down and becomes rancid, and that rancidity picks up in the body and causes inflammation in the body and releases prostaglandins, and the body then has to deal with that, and the way it deals with that is to raise cholesterol in the body to deal with the high inflammation, which is one of its main roles. So if you're frying with extra virgin olive oil, steaks and all the rest of it, I would step away from that. I would tend to use something like an organic cooking butter, coconut butter, which basically is very, very stable at high temperatures. You don't really need to worry about how it's stored. I generally keep it out of the light in the cupboard, but very, very stable at high temperatures. It doesn't go off, and it's very, very easy to use as energy, as a medium chain fatty acids. So we can convert this into energy pretty quick. It also has antibacterial agents, antifungal. It's a kind of all-rounder, so I would have that if you're going to fry. Just like when you're a kid, in the 1950s and 60s, probably a bit before my time, they used to cook chips in beef dripping, funnily enough, but now we use vegetable oils. Too many vegetable oils, again, too many omega-6s causes inflammatory response in the body. So if you have issues with arthritis, you have anything with an itis on the end, you want to stay clear of too many vegetable oils. So if you're going to do like saute something like some chips or something like that, you're much better off using a beef dripping or a pork dripping, which actually tastes much better. It's better quality. It comes from, it hasn't been processed. It's in its natural state, and it's going to give you, and it's not going to cause an inflammatory problem in your body. Butter. We eat stacks of butter in our family. You want to get the best butter you can get. Ideally, you want to get raw butter, so unpasteurized butter, but that's pretty hard to come by. If you've got a dairy issue, you want to go for ghee. That's basically butter, but taking away the dairy. Butter's brilliant to saute things. I wouldn't fry this or use this and heat it too much, because it tends to burn and tends to break down. But you probably get away with gently frying. And by the way, I wouldn't fry foods if I can avoid it too much. I would generally cook them slowly. Again, temperature tends to kill fats and tends to make them go off. Butter's great for sauteing things, spreading on things. People generally don't use butter before because they think saturated fats were bad, and it's not as convenient to spread because when it's cold, it doesn't tend to spread much. The key is, don't really need to put it in the fridge because it's stable anyway. I would leave it out unless it's kind of like 90 degrees outside and you want to inside and you want to kind of keep it solid. So butter, brilliant for pretty much everything, but I wouldn't overheat it. Going back to more unstable oils like extra virgin, I would generally use this for salad dressing. So drizzling over and I would use it quite freely. Fats are brilliant to keep you satisfied, to keep you full, and to stabilise your sugar levels. So they have a great effect on your insulin response when you eat sugar. So always combining fats with your foods will give you will keep you full and make sure you don't have any peaks and troughs. Again, I wouldn't fry with this, but I would use it. I would use it to put on dressings. What you need to be careful with extra virgin olive oil, because it's quite unstable. It goes rancid even if you leave the top off not properly. The light will attack it. So this is why it's put in tin or dark, and then you keep it in a dark cupboard. I would make sure you store it properly, because it will go off if you don't. So that's an important one. Essentially though, I would resort back to how we used to get a range of fats that you use for different issues, different cooking processes. For example, goose fat, brilliant for roast potatoes or something, or roasting, as we all know. Dripping, as I said, for frying. Coconut oil or butter for pretty much everything. Butter for everything as well, but don't overheat. And extra virgin olive oil for drizzling on dressings. Personally, that's what I would use in my house. Other fats I would take from essential fats, like omega-3, would be in fish, if you get good quality oily fish, or you can supplement fish oils. But I would you generally be careful with too much fish, because we don't know where it comes from. Most of it's farmed. So you can get other good fats from avocados, walnuts, nuts, and all these type of things. But just be careful on too many vegetables. That's probably a thing to take away today. And be careful how you look after your fats and oils, to make sure the lid's on tight, you don't expose it to light, and it's stuck away in the dark. So I hope that's given you some food for thought. We're going to come back and cover a little bit more on the larder. We're going to go through other different aspects. But the main thing is you stock up on good quality and you look after it. Healthy eating. Hope to see you at boot camp soon. Take care now.